What is up, everybody? Skratch coming up with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I want to talk about artifacts. I want to give you guys a couple of tips that will save you millions of silver in Raid Shadow Legends. Now, there's so many mistakes that we can do when we're talking about artifacts, and I feel like everybody gets into that mentality, the hoarder mentality. I'm gonna keep these pieces because I might use them on some champion in 20 years from now. And you're gonna end up in wasting millions of silver, leveling up pieces of gear that you're never gonna use. You know why? Because they're just not good enough. And I'm gonna try to clarify the whole process for you guys and show you what sort of gear to level up and stop wasting silver, you know? At the moment, I'm not on my account. I'm actually on one of my buddy's accounts because the gear on my account is fully maxed. I feel like I cannot give you guys a good example like that, okay? So I need to have an account where not all the gear is maxed and where we can actually take decisions. There are a few things that we gotta understand about artifacts, about champions. Before we move over to talk about all that, guys, I just want to let you know, if you enjoy the music you hear in the video, I partner up with Soundstripe. They have an amazing music library, so if you're a content creator, a music enthusiast, or you're just looking for some new music, definitely head over and check them out. The link will be in the description down below or in the pinned comments. Plus, I can save you 15% on checkout by using code SKRATCH. Now, the very first thing that I want to mention, champions, okay? We have so many champions, so many sets in the game, but if you actually stay to think about it, all these champions are spread in different groups. You have the DPSers, damage dealers, which can do damage based on attack, defense, HP. So that means that depending on what set and what champion you're building, you might need either attack, either HP, either defense to clap more damage out of your champion. Then you have support champions, thermometer boosters that need to have crazy speed to try and go first, to bring your team to victory. You have the revivers, the tanks, the champions that buff. So these, they kind of need different sets. One thing that you gotta understand is that you need to be aware, you need to know what you're doing with the champion, okay? So you gotta plan it ahead. I wanna build my Mitrala to be my cleanser in arena, as an idea. So she needs accuracy, resistance. I want to give her so much resistance that nobody can debuff her. So for that, I know what I want to do with her. I want to put her on immunity, so if a hegemon comes on a stun set, she's not going to get stunned. Because the sets, this sort of CC sets, they don't require accuracy, so they can actually overpass whatever amount of resistance you have on your champions. So that's my plan for the champion. Once you understand what you want to do with your champion, it's going to be much easier for you guys to think about what sort of gear works on your account, what sort of gear you want to keep, okay? Then we have the champions that debuff, okay? Think about Madame Series, think about Stag Knight, champions that need speed, need accuracy in order to ensure that they're going to be able to drop the debuffs on the enemy before your damage dealer goes, or stuff like that, you know? You're not gonna need crazy accuracy and speed on most of these champions, especially if we're talking about PvE. The highest you're gonna need is probably around 240 speed, 250 speed, and around 370 accuracy, and that is for Hydra Nightmare, okay? For PvP, on the other hand, as much speed, as much accuracy is gonna be more than welcome, depending if it's a Kymar, Madame Series, if it's a Warlord. So many options out there, you know? But when we're talking about sets, because now we kind of like put the champions in groups, we know what to expect. When you're talking about sets, we actually have around 5 million sets in the game right now. There's so many sets. Like, honestly, if you just started the game, it's gonna be very underwhelming. You're not even gonna know where to start from. You're not gonna know what's happening with all these sets, you know? So I'm gonna kind of like split a bit the sets into different groups as well. So we have the sets for damage dealers, okay? Probably I'm not gonna name every single one of them, but we have Savage, we have Cruel, we have the normal attack, we have the Fatal, which is another attack with a bit of crit rate, we have the Lethal, which is another Savage, we have the crit damage, we have the Kill Stroke, you have the Instinct. Lifesteal can be in this group as well, because whenever you're building champions on Lifesteal, mainly they're built for clan boss, right? Or for some content where they need to do damage in order to be able to heal back, okay? That's kind of like the way it works with Lifesteal. You have the crit rate set. So all these sets, they're meant to go on damage dealers. Now, how I mentioned, for damage dealers, you have 3 different types: HP, defense, attack. But the main things that you want to focus on having on these pieces of gear is having crit rate, crit damage, and the stat that is required for the champion to deal damage, attack, defense, or HP. Like, we have this weapon. This is the perfect example of a god roll weapon, okay? This is a god roll savage weapon. If the rolls were on crit rate instead of attack, it would have been still very good, but what I want to prioritize on my weapon, considering that I cannot get attack on the shield, I cannot get attack on the chest piece as a substat because that's the main, and probably the same on the boots. I don't mind having multiple rolls on attack on the weapon and even the helmet actually, and then have more crit rate on the shield, more crit rate on the chest piece, more crit rate even on the gauntlet, on the boots, as long as I'm managing to get that attack, defense, HP high enough so they can actually smack really hard. If we're having a look at this helmet right here, again, we're prioritizing crit rate, crit damage. Now, this is not an amazing piece because we have that flat defense, but is required in order to get our crit rate to the right level, you know? The shield, you see, this is Roto, so we cannot have attack on his shield, but we have HP, which helps him to deal damage because he deals damage based on HP and attack. Crit rate, crit damage. Now, if we're gonna be looking at Savage gear, and it doesn't have these stats, like, let me just quickly find a couple of pieces that they're not that great, you know? When you're looking at pieces that are not as great, this shield right here, so we have HP and crit rate, is a 5% crit rate. If you want to level up this, you're gonna have to think, you're gonna need to have some crazy luck just to get a crit damage or a speed at level 12 and 16 to boost your damage even more, okay? So I feel like this piece, from my perspective, is kind of like a skip. I wouldn't level it up. Maybe if you're mid-game, you're gonna look at the piece and be like, this is decent. I'm gonna give it a go and maybe I'm gonna get crit rate. Now, I'm already level 4, I haven't got crit rate, so if you guys are gonna go to level 12 and risk it, you might hit another HP, you might hit another crit rate, another small roll, and you're still not gonna get a decent piece, and you're just gonna waste silver. So the whole idea of this video is stop leveling pieces that are just gonna cost you silver and you're never gonna end up in using them, okay? Very, very important to be more aware of this. This is a very nice weapon as well. Triple crit rate, that's actually very solid. This is the best example of a rubbish piece, okay? Accuracy, crit damage, and resistance. Let's just say this is level 1. You don't even want to bother to level this up because you're already missing the very important substance of damage. Crit rate, attack, or HP, depending on what you need from this piece of gear. Accuracy and resistance, they just don't belong on the Savage set. Yeah, I don't disagree having 200 accuracy on your champion with a max Great Hall is a bad thing, but that's something that you're gonna pick an accuracy or a resistance roll from here and there without actually trying to get them. This is a very bad piece of gear, and it works the same for all the other damage sets that we just named before. I'm not gonna go through it because I'm trying not to keep the video too long because I tend to speak too much about stuff like this. So this is kind of like what we need to understand for damage dealers. Those are the main stats that we're looking to get. And it's the same for accessories. You want to have either an attack banner, either a defense, either an HP banner. Same for the ring. And you want to have rolls on the substat of what's the damage based on. Like, this is a quadruple attack ring, okay? This is beautiful. I would have preferred this to be, honestly, main HP, just because it's Rotos. But for other champions, you want to have attack, as many rolls on attack. You want to have an HP banner, as many rolls on HP, depending on what champions you're building and depending on what their damage scales on, you know. When we're talking about support champions, guys, how I mentioned, there are quite a few different sort of support champions. We have the speed gear for very fast champions. We can use immunity gear for a high resistance, high accuracy champion. Some of these sets are actually very, very universal. You can even build damage dealers on these sets without a problem. Now, this is a bit more niche, is more towards arena. I don't want to focus strictly on arena, guys. I just want to focus all around on the game. And the whole idea is to make sure you're not leveling up pieces of gear that you just shouldn't level up because they're just either not going to help your champions, you're not going to get the build that you want, and then you're just not going to end up in using those pieces because you leveled up rubbish and you're just getting better pieces, and you're just going to end up in having them at even level 16 maybe, and just wasting tons and tons of silver. So right here, kind of like more universal sets, we have the speed, we have the perception, we have the accuracy, we have the immunity, we have the swift parry, we have the stone skin. This can be used on damage dealers, support champions, debuffers, right? So here, I would say try to keep stats all around. Stats for damage dealers, speed accuracy, speed resistance, HP defense. These are kind of like the substats that you would want to get on these sets, you know? The next thing is about the other sets that are not as universal and are used on support champions, on tanks, on revivers. We have the Guardian set, we have the Fortitude, we have the Protection. Think about the Resilience, we have the Deflection set. All these are mainly used on champions like Ursaga, Duchess, Rector Dread, Ursula the Mourner. You can build these champions with resistance. For PvE, you're mainly gonna need 300, 400 resistance, and you're gonna be more than fine. Around 450 to 500 for the Hydra Nightmare Clan boss. For the rest, you won't need to have higher resistance than that. Now, when you're building champions with resistance, you're gonna need to get some survivability. Usually the champions that have high resistance, they're squishier, okay? So they're gonna die a bit faster than a normal tank, which has tons of HP, defense, and then it has a bit of speed, maybe a bit of accuracy. When you're talking about that, because a lot of times you're gonna get like a bit of accuracy from the side, you don't need to focus accuracy on these champions, you know? The whole idea behind it is that you're gonna pick a bit of accuracy from here, from there, without even trying. You have the Great Hall, you have the Faction Guardians, the Amulet, and you're gonna end up in having around 200 accuracy, which is more than enough for a PvE, for dungeon waves, 220 for bosses on dungeons, slightly higher for the Doom Tower, and for arena, if you really want to debuff with an Ursaga, for example, or you want to debuff with a Soulless, 200 plus accuracy is more than enough, but that shouldn't be your priority when you're building the champions like this. You want to give them either the tankiness, you might want to give them the resistance. For resistance builds, 2 years ago was different. We were able to build resistance champions on speed gear, on pretty much any set that had good resistance substats. And we were pretty fine because the people didn't have so much accuracy gear. Now, since the perception is in the game, everybody has tons and tons of accuracy. Like, I feel like new accounts that are playing for 2-3 months can achieve 600 accuracy. I've seen that on my free-to-play. I see it sometimes when I'm doing coachings or takeovers early on a new accounts. And I'm just, wow, you know, like they have so much accuracy. By the time they're gonna end up in reaching endgame arena, this is a bit more of an arena tip, they're gonna have 700 plus accuracy. And the way it works is that 720 accuracy is gonna be able to debuff 780 resistance. Just crazy numbers, I'm throwing them out there. But you need to have a much higher resistance in order to resist a smaller amount of accuracy. So you're gonna need around 800 resistance to be safe against 720, 730 accuracy. And it gets much, much harder. It's not achievable with different sets that they don't give you a bonus as resistance, like the Fortitude or the Resistance set or the Untouchable. It's much, much harder to get there without this. So I feel like the resistance builds, they're kind of like strictly for these sets nowadays. You don't really just end up in mixing and doing a triple speed resistance champion at 800 resistance, you know? It's just not happening anymore because of the reason that I just explained you with the perception gear. When we're talking about Guardian set, we're talking about sets that actually help your champions to tank for the rest of the team. You want to make sure you have a lot of HP, you have a lot of defense, and yes, you can have a bit of accuracy here and there, but mainly you want to focus on stats like double HP, 1 defense, a bit of speed. You don't have to focus on damage stats, not attack, not crit damage, not crit rate. For example, Guardian set. If you have a lot of crit damage, it's actually bad for the champion because we'll be taking more damage because of the crit damage that you have. That's kind of like the way it works with the ally protection. This helmet right here will be like this. Insta sell it. Don't even try to level it up to level 4 to 8, even if it's the only helmet that you have, okay? Just don't do it because it's just not gonna help your account whatsoever. I understand if you really want to fill up that set, and that was the helmet. You needed a helmet to make a 4-piece set. Just use it, because you don't really have another option. But when you know that you can actually go and do more, just because it was a 6-star legendary, it doesn't mean that you have to level it up quickly. This one right here is a fairly good example. triple defense, 1 HP, 1 resistance, which can actually go up on us. How I mentioned, you only need around 200 plus accuracy to debuff champions in arena as well, that they're not high resistance, mainly because everybody doesn't get a bit of resistance on their build. So my Duchess has 350 resistance. It's not necessarily because I went out and looked to get resistance substats everywhere. I just want to avoid that a Soulless is not going to be able to provoke my Duchess and lose on the revive, for example, you know? And that's kind of like the whole thing with these sets. Just pick the tankiness, HP, defense, but if you have a bit of a resistance or accuracy, depending what you need, and speed next to it, it's fine. Use it, even glyph it, because it's going to benefit your champion all around. So this is a very good helmet, for example, something that I would level up. Having a look at these boots, they're not bad. They're HP, they have no speed, they have resistance, attack, crit rate. They're not great boots, okay? If it's the only piece of boots and this is the one that you need HP, you're gonna end up in using it because you don't have many options. But when you can get multiple ones, you're not gonna wanna invest in a pair of boots like that. So let's just say you have two. You see, this one is triple speed, attack stats next to it. It's not that great, but we got that triple speed. It might actually help us like that. This is much better. We have a flat HP. Actually, on a perfect HP boot or chest piece, I would prefer to have defense percentage, speed, and flat HP if possible. You know, the more HP on your champions, the better. So that's kind of like the way it works with revivers and champions that buff, like Ursaga, Necrit, this sort of champions. Then we have the last group of champions, and those are the debuffers, okay? Madame Series, Ramantu, we have Lydia, we have even Hegemon can go in one of these groups on a stun set, for example. We have Kaimar, we have Molly. These champions, again, they can be pretty niche, okay? They can be used on different things. You might want to have immunity, you might want to have stone skin, you might want to have high accuracy. On a Kaimar, you can go with high resistance as well on immunity, so you can kind of like counter warlords and stuff. For PvE, you don't need much accuracy, how I mentioned. 220, 230 accuracy is gonna beat everything except Hydra, on a Brutal and Nightmare, and the Doom Tower Harm. So it's not a lot of thinking about it there. You can build your Stagnite with crit damage, crit rate, accuracy, depending on what sort of stats you have available, and you're gonna be able to get multiple things out of him. A bit of damage, debuffing as well, you know? These sets, they kind of require speed, accuracy, speed, accuracy, speed, accuracy, HP. You don't want to have crit rate. Crit rate can cost you if you're talking about arena, if you're giving them Thermiter for masteries when you're actually hitting them. Tankiness, speed, accuracy, that's what matters. You see, we focused on this Molly to have tons of speed. I mean tons, as much as we can. 263, 455 accuracy. So the set actually protects her, the stone skin, so she doesn't get damaged, and kind of like an immunity. And we're gonna provoke after and kind of like CC the enemy team. That's kind of like what it means for debuffers. We can remove buffs with a lot of accuracy, like Madame Series, triple perception, 236 speed, and we have 761 accuracy, man. You see, and this is not a crazy account. It might look like it's crazy. The gear, I feel like, is kind of like a middle level compared to mine. I'm not saying that in a mean way. It's just to understand that so many accounts can get to this amount of accuracy, and it's bringing me back to the point when we were talking about resistance, you know? I'm gonna need around 830, 840 resistance to be safe, okay? To don't get debuffed from this. Which is pretty damn crazy, actually. It's crazy to think that you can actually get that amount of resistance without actually using an aura, without having your champion empowered, you know? So that's kind of like pretty much how it goes with all these sets. Now, I'm gonna show you a couple of other examples from random sets that you shouldn't even bother to level them up. Resilience. This could be potentially used as a secondary set for damage dealers like Magnar, Sir Nicholas, even Soulless, because it gives more defense. Personally, I prefer to use a crit damage set instead. Now we have the new set, the Killstroke. I would prefer to use something like that instead, just to get more damage out of it, but this can be used as well. This weapon right here, I wouldn't bother to level it up. Crit rate, HP, attack, accuracy. It's not... The main thing you gotta understand with this piece is not for damage dealers. So that's scrap. It scraps it off. We cannot use it on an attack build. It's not for support champions because we don't have HP percentage. We don't have a bit of speed. So that scraps it off. And it's not for anything, okay? This is a piece that you shouldn't level up. You see, he wasted silver just to take it up to level 12. I'm hoping that you guys are getting the whole idea here. Again, we're coming to this helmet. Speed, crit rate. Then we have attack. Now, how I mentioned, you can use this as a secondary set for a damage dealer. But you have speed, crit rate, and attack. Your damage dealer will need to deal damage either based on defense or HP. When your piece already starts rolling like this, it's gonna be a waste of silver to even consider to take it to level 12, regardless where you are in the game. Trust me when I'm telling you that. It's not about being very fussy with the gear or anything like that. Attack, crit rate, resistance. Again, this piece, roll it up, chuck it out because it's not gonna be good, you know? When we're talking about stun set, I'm not sure if I already mentioned it in the video. I feel like I kind of lost it with this. But you can use this on damage dealers or on champions that you just want to see. Faction Wars, Doom Tower, Secret Rooms. So I have pretty much all my starter champions, Kale, Elhain, Galek, and all these champions are built on stun sets for Secret Rooms, okay? And they deal damage, so kind of like hybrids. CC with the stun set, and then deal damage at the same time. So this is a pretty good set as well. You can have it on high accuracy for like team hegemons or other champions that will be used for arena. And then have damage as well from this set. Not really support. You won't be using this set on tank champions, on revivers, you know what I mean? If we're talking about regeneration, this is a very nice set as well. And I kind of used it on Hydra as well. On Geomancer, it's actually very powerful. Very, very nice set to keep my Geomancer alive when I'm running him with Shamael. I'm using it on a lot of champions that need to solo content. Tomblored, I'm using it on Lydia for the Hydra clan boss, just as an idea. So this is a set that will be mainly used on champions that offer support, okay? Revivers are actually great on regeneration because they're just constantly gonna heal. If they don't have a self-healing skill, they're constantly gonna heal whenever they're taking a turn, so that's very, very nice. There are a lot of bad sets in the game as well, which I would probably suggest you keep only pieces that are legendary or 6-star epics god tier pieces, okay? This is a decent weapon. He can use it just because it has triple roll on speed, you know? This helmet, don't even bother in keeping it, you know what I mean? It's just such a bad helmet that is not worth it for you to level it up because trust me when I'm telling you, you're never gonna use it. And I'm doing this mistake as well sometimes. I feel like I'm getting that hoarder mentality and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna build this champion like that, but I never do. And I'm just keeping it there and more pieces are piling up and I end up having so many pieces of gear that I'm like, my god, I gotta spend 5 hours to do a gear cleanse now and it's so painful. Lifesteal. How I mentioned, you want to get it on damage dealers because you're gonna heal on the damage dealt. If you don't have the stats to deal damage on it, you're gonna be able to maybe heal if a War Master hit procs from the masteries, but that's not 100%. So if that doesn't happen, lifesteal gear is not that great. So if you don't reach damage stats on it, the lifesteal gear is not a point to keep it. This is a waste of silver just to even try to level up a piece like that. And kind of the same way it goes for the rest of the pieces. The speed gear is more universal, how I mentioned. You can keep flat pieces from the bottom weapon. You can keep flat pieces like the gauntlet, the chest piece, because they can roll you speed. So with the addition of Chaos Ores, speed gear, immunity, perception, and a couple other sets are a no-sell for me if they're a 6-star legendary because I'm gonna roll them. I'm wasting silver basically. That's one of my things. Wasting the silver to see if I hit a quadruple or a triple roll and then maybe either just modify it with the Chaos Ore or just keep it if it rolls speed. But that's something that's more for very end game when you're kind of like done with everything in the game and the main thing you focus on is arena only, you know? Hopefully this video gave you some clarification and it helped you to understand a bit in what exactly you gotta do with your gear. save your silver. Don't waste it on leveling up pieces of gear that you shouldn't. I'm 100% sure that I'm gonna find some bad pieces at level 16 if I'm looking on his account too, because I know I have it on my account, you have it on your account, we all have it on our accounts. That's kind of like one thing to understand. This one right here, speed, HP, defense, resistance, is not multiple rolls on speed, is not multiple rolls on resistance, not multiple rolls on HP to tank. So this is kind of like a bad helmet that's probably not really gonna be used on anyone unless it's something really required for your faction wars and you're just building your account, progressing through the game, when yes, you're not gonna be as picky. But that was all for this video, guys. Much love, appreciate all of you guys watching. Let me know in the comments down below what sort of questions you have about artifacts. I'm gonna do my best to answer, and I'll catch you all soon in the next video. Peace.